I mean, come on, what are we doing? The middle class family, the average citizen, can't live in a middle class neighborhood, sending money overseas when they should be prioritizing their citizens, and it backfires. And then you look at your citizens and tell them that the economy is fine. You know, that is
Okay,
crazy. Let's talk about propaganda here. I want to show you a good example of what some of these sites do. Their choice of words, their specific keywords, and approach they take to get their point across. And mainly, it's just blatant propaganda. Now, let's look at this. Here's MSN.com, and most of these websites with these agendas will pop up in your browsers, which the big companies run, and they have an agenda. Check this out. Always the title first. The Trump economy begins. Grabs your attention because you think you can save some money. A little less in your face than when Biden was in office. So check this out. Raises critical questions about the impact of his economic policies on Gen Z. Gen Z should watch for shifts in monetary policy. Good, such as changes to interest rates, which could impact student loans, credit cards, and mortgages. All right, pretty normal, but it's starting to go downhill a little bit. Jennifer Barrero, a global ambassador for UN Association and the founder of the Youth Housing Coalition. Youth Housing Coalition, okay? A new administration might also bring changes to tax policies, energy subsidies, or employment initiatives, all of which could directly affect disposable income and job opportunities. What's disposable income? And how can energy subsidies affect job opportunities and tax policies? Okay. Here's some tips they want to give you. Build an emergency fund. Great. That's always a tip. Extra cash. Oh, here we go. Gen Zers might also need extra cash if Trump's tax cut for corporations and high-income individuals result in cuts to social safety nets or public services. Okay? If Trump cuts taxes for corporations, high-income individuals, how would that impact social safety nets or public services, which are mostly government funded? Oh, these guys create jobs. I don't understand how people don't understand that. These big companies, these innovators, these inventors, these high-functioning CEOs and people who run these companies, they create jobs and they make the economy go around. If the government is putting more restrictions on them, it's going to make their life harder, which also makes the employer's life harder and the economy worse. If the president or the cabinet makes the life of those running the economy better and easier, then it's a trickle effect. It's like a domino effect. It's going to go down, and that's how people experience better outcomes. Next paragraph here. If tax policy shifts to reduce deductions, credits, or increase tax rates on middle income earners, reduce deductions, credits, or increase tax rate. Why would that happen? Gen Z might face higher tax burdens, leaving less disposable. What is disposable income? You're like what you want to spend? Who calls it that? It's just what you have left over in your savings and what you do with it. Disposable income. Nobody has disposable income. Okay. Tax policies are not going to reduce deductions, credits, or increase tax rates on middle class. Propaganda. Upskill. Okay. Many Gen Zers are entering a gig economy or working in roles with less job security, because they're unreliable, making it more difficult to have a steady income. because they're unreliable. These conditions grow even more acute during a second Trump administration if he follows through his campaign promises to deregulate businesses. Deregulate businesses. That's small businesses, big businesses, allowing them to be more innovative, allowing them to be more flexible and do more things, and also probably work better with the government and faster, more efficient. And let me go in on this little tip here. Upskill. So they want you to do Uber, gig economy, learn new tech skills, enhance existing ones, complete, especially freelancers. According to Fiverr, 70% say they're currently freelance. Okay, freelancing. They say nothing about trade, nothing about labor work, nothing about carpentry, nothing about plumbing, nothing about opening a business, becoming a business owner, and it's all about go drive Uber, the typical tech, IT stuff they want you to do. If I had to give you advice, learn a trade. That's always a good backup. Tax advantage retirement. I'm not going to get into that one. Why would young investors prioritize investing in tax IRAs or advantage retirement accounts, including health savings? Why? Why? Well, how is this advice? Like nobody's been told that. It's the same advice that everyone's always give you. Save for retirement. Okay. Fractional real estate. This one I read, and pretty good advice. And if this is a real thing, it's good. So 1 out of 4 or 5 tips here are good. This one is good. And also looking at what's going to boom after the election in January. And then you got to look at what companies are going to be successful in the next year, 6 months. So overall, this is bad advice. Don't listen to it. Propaganda. Most of the things are probably not going to happen. They're stating in this article. Again, same nonsense, same stuff to divide you, make you hate your country, make you hate your president, and make you think he's a bad guy. And someone's paid them to do it. So, end of story.
A somber mood at Harris's watch party overnight after Donald Trump dominated, blowing through the so-called blue wall of Midwest states that Democrats had counted on. Improving on his 2020 margins in more than 2,000 counties nationwide. In the key swing state of Pennsylvania, Harris underperforming President Biden's results. And further down the ballot, Republicans also flipped the Senate to their side.
America has given us an unprecedented and powerful mandate.
Now for Democrats, the soul-searching begins. After an unprecedented race with Harris stepping in as the presidential candidate just 100 days ago when President Biden withdrew.
In my personal opinion on this whole thing, as we go into it, he says America has given a mandate. You know, I like his policies. I've read his policies. I like his administration. I like most of the people in the administration, the cabinet he picked. I've read all of their policies and they're good. They align with my beliefs. Now, his delivery, the way he speaks in public, word choice, I know he doesn't care, but that's the only issue I really have with him. But he is from New York. They're a little rough, but that's a personal opinion. If I had to criticize him and the way he handles the win, it was different from last term, but here he could have been. I mean, he has his ways, so I don't know what he could have said better, but you know, he is who he is and he doesn't really care. So yeah, that's my take on that.
Harris tried to distance herself from Biden, but perhaps was still.
What the Democrats did while in office over the last 4 years. Inflation, which was so high during much of this administration. And many people are still feeling the pain of that.
Exit polls show voters listed the economy as a major issue. Harris also underperforming in key areas.
Where she's coming up short are in the cities.
even struggling in blue strongholds like New York and Virginia, despite a massive campaign blitz from major Democratic stars. Harris also came up short with key minority groups, according to exit polls, Latino men favoring Trump by a 10-point margin.
One of the points mentioned here is talking about the inflation and personal economy, housing prices, interest rates, cost of groceries. You could walk out and go take your family out and it'll be $200. That could literally bankrupt you if you just wanted to go out twice a week, enjoy family dinner. That's not okay. And the fact that the Democrats are completely ignoring that fact and not addressing it, it's almost as if they want to deny the fact that they created it because of the policies they enacted, supporting illegals coming into this country, giving them the money over citizens, treating citizens as second class rather than those who are coming in, and enacting policies that a small percentage of people support, and also sending money overseas when they should be prioritizing their citizens. And it backfires, and then you look at your citizens and tell them that the economy is fine. You know, that is crazy.
After backing President Biden by 23 points 4 years ago, Democrats now face an uphill battle.
And we know it is time for a new generation of leadership in America.
With Harris's message clearly not resonating with enough voters, Democrats are now left trying to sort out how to turn the page now. And already you're beginning to hear questions in terms of that Monday morning, or in this case, Wednesday morning quarterbacking among Democrats. Among the questions right now, whether it would have made better sense for President.
Oh, what happened last night? Anybody do anything interesting? Okay. The 2024 presidential race ended yesterday. And this is what the country and the world woke up to this morning. Take a look.
This was a movement like nobody's ever seen before. And frankly, this was, I believe, the greatest political movement of all time. And now it's going to reach a new level of importance because we're going to.
It is December of 2024. Trump says that this is one of the greatest political achievements. And let's look at that. Let's look at the last 4 years and what kind of censorship has occurred to one side of the conservatives not being able to speak their opinions, whether it's transgender rights, LGBTQ conversations, the way education is run, where our money should go, who should come into the country. There are a lot of topics that were completely blocked from social medias, from every major news organization that was paid off. It was clear censorship, and if you're going to say it isn't, you're not paying attention. As a citizen, you should pay attention to what's going on, because whether or not you believe one way or the other, someone on one side was getting completely shut off. There's usually two sides, maybe three, in this country, and if one side can't speak, then you'll have a dictatorship at the end of the day. So what he's saying is that happened for 4 years. All this stuff, the shooting, which I'm not going to get into because that's conspiracy discussion, and we're going to have whole episodes dedicated to that. Which I'll say, there's some operations going on, and hopefully he can make it to January, because the way things are looking with the drones that were just spotted over Jersey, these shootings and these attempted assassinations, it's not going to stop. But Yeah, so is this a greatest political of our time? If you pay attention, if you can accept the facts without being biased, yes, it is.
Help our country heal. We have a country that needs help, and it needs help very badly. We're going to fix our borders. We're going to fix everything about our country. America's future will be bigger, better, bolder, richer, safer, and stronger than it has ever been before. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you very much.
So, how you feel?
I'll start.
Yeah, go ahead.
My takeaway is that the system works. We live in a democracy. People spoke. This is what people wanted. I vehemently disagree with the decision that Americans made, but I feel very, very hopeful that we have a democratic system in this country. We should value it. We should love it. We should protest if the situation arises that we need to protest, which I'm sure it will. And I've been through this before with Nixon. It's been very difficult, but boy, oh boy, do we have a country if we can keep it.
Yeah. Well, echoing the sentiments, Joy, one of the first thing I wanted to say for anyone that needs an example of when the person you voted for does not win, you do not say the system must be broken or that it was rigged. You say it is what it is, and you show up anyway. And I want to commend all those people that voted, because you sometimes hear people say, well, it didn't matter. No, it did matter. That was still your currency. That was still your power. And people turned out. Now, if you didn't vote, you really don't have a say in the conversation, so you can go ahead and sit down. But for the rest of you, and then a lot of what I think about is what I always tell my kids when things go on. You feel what you feel. Everyone has different emotions. Some people got what they wanted. A lot of people didn't. And you feel anything that comes up, and then you turn around and you say, let's look at the tapes. Let's see what we did. Let's see how we continue to fight for the people that we care about. And you take one step in front of the other. And so here we that optimistic, because I feel.
This video was from a month ago. It was very close to when the election results came out. They had a pretty decent reaction. Didn't look like it was too extreme. Joe Bear has said this is a democracy. Okay, it is. And the people spoke. What's good is if the results came out, they actually counted, and everything in our system works. That was a good result. If that's how people voted, which I can see happening because of the craziness in our economy, people wanted something different. They didn't want the same thing going another 4 years, because the way it was going to get worse. And if we're living in a democracy, then if the Republicans can stick to their promises and execute their policies, we can be in for a good 4 years. And that's good for everyone. You're living here, you want to be successful, you want to live comfortably, you want the economy to be good, you want food to be less expensive, you want to go out and eat, you want gas to be less expensive, then so be it. Let it happen.
Feel arm in arm with so many people who agree with me, and I'm not going to stop marching. So
I like this pep talk, Coach Haynes. Listen, is it the outcome I wanted? No, but we live in a democracy. I have my vote.
Right.
Millions of people cast their votes did. And what's important to me is this. Tens of millions of Americans, our friends, our neighbors, our family members, voted for Donald Trump. We disagree with him. I know we all do at this table, but they are good, decent people who are patriots and love this country. And I can't speak to what drove them to the conclusion of being with him, but I think it is a moment for us to listen to each other, to hear each other, express what our concerns are. It was pretty red last night.
I don't know. I'm profoundly disturbed. I think if you look at the New York Times this morning, the headline was America makes a perilous choice. I think that in 2016, we didn't know what we would get from a Trump administration, but we know now. And we know now that he will have almost unfettered power. And so I worry, not about myself, actually. I don't worry about my station in life. I worry about the working class. I worry about my mother, a retired teacher. I worry about our elderly and their Social Security and their Medicare. I worry about my children's future, especially my daughter, who now has less rights than I have. And I remember my father telling me many, many years ago that I was the first person in his family to enjoy full civil rights. And now I have less civil rights than I had when he told me that. So again, I'm profoundly disturbed that the 14th Amendment of the Constitution did not prevent someone who participated in an insurrection from becoming president of the United States. Going forward, the convicted.
Here we go. So they start off by saying this is a democracy, but they couldn't help it. They had to go right back to their ways and this extremely left, progressive views that they have, and they can't help it. This lady's insane. I don't know what her deal is, but every time she speaks, it is craziness. The way she talks about the American people, the way she says that degrades them, and then she's talking about people losing their rights, taxing the middle class. It's just a bunch of nonsense, and it's lies, it's propaganda. She's getting paid to do this. The View is getting paid to do this. ABC is getting paid to do this. And this lady has no opinion of her own. And if it is, it's extremely far gone. This only gets worse. This was a month ago. So after the election, November 5th, it's December 11th today. You can go back and look from November 5th to December 11th, how many different videos they have released, and watch the rhetoric. So they were for 1 minute, this is a democracy, the people have spoke, and there's opinions and we have to accept the result. Go watch what's been put out. Go watch it now and watch the anger coming out of this lady.
And you know what else I would have did if I was her campaign? Since Donald Trump used me, I would have used Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan said Donald Trump was a threat to democracy. Joe Rogan said he thought Donald Trump was, I think, unhinged was the quote.
Right.
You got to mix it up. You got to get dirty with these people. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to muddy the waters a little bit, cause confusion.
Yeah. Let me ask you something that's going around right now. A lot of this conversation about President Biden getting criticized from both sides of the aisle for pardoning his son Hunter after repeatedly saying he would never do it. And a lot of people are saying that it's hypocritical, et cetera, as if the other side doesn't do it. But what's your reaction to it?
I mean, I think all of the criticism is valid because, Democrats stand on this moral high ground all the time. And, they act so self-righteous. The reality is he didn't have to say anything in regards to, whether or not, his son wanted to be pardoned.
Before they start reacting to what Charlemagne with the makeup and rubber face and weird eyebrows saying, he's a little bit sensical. He has some sense. Is what he's saying. He's just kind of in the middle. This is 6 days ago. So around December, 5th. And we're going to see the rhetoric continue. And then we're going to see a few people come on here and then speak about how they're balanced on their approach, just like him. And Stephen A. Smith also comes on, and we'll cover that here in a second. But this guy is saying something. But watch what happens.
He could have said, hey, man, I'm not focused on that right now. But since they were calling Trump a threat to democracy and they were saying that, nobody's above the law, but they were speaking about him, that's what they were running on. So when he kept saying things like, nobody's above the law, I respect, the jury's decision in regards to my son, he didn't believe that. But he didn't have to volunteer that lie to begin with.
I'm going to stop you for a second.
Uh-oh.
Only because you don't know that it was a lie. We don't know why he changed
You
his
really think he just changed his mind over Thanksgiving weekend all of a
No,
sudden?
I'm going to tell you because you don't know that it was a lie. We don't know why he changed
You
his
really think he just changed his mind over Thanksgiving weekend all of a
No,
sudden?
I'm going to tell you what I think.
Okay. Yeah.
I think he changed.
Uh-oh.
Only because.
Look at his face. Something about all of this is off. The way he gets on here, he knows right before he got on, they told him this is what you can say, this is what you can't say. And this dude definitely has his own opinions on a lot of things. He is vocal. He's trying to hold back, and then he also seems pretty balanced, but he wants to talk. And then when he says something that's actually probably against what ABC wants to air, Whoopi's job is to stop him. And she stops him, and he's kind of shocked, but then he realizes he's on live television, so he has to act the part. And this is what happens.
Because you don't know that it was a lie. We don't know why he changed
You
his
really think he just changed his mind over Thanksgiving weekend all of a
No,
sudden?
I'm going to tell you his mind because he got sick of watching everybody else get over. And this is just my feeling, because at some point you get to the place where you just go, so I'm just going to follow the straight and narrow always, because that's what's expected of Democrats.
But that's their fault. They're the ones that
you're
go out.
mis-
They're the
don't-
ones that go out there and they stand on this moral high ground.
Listen,
they don't have to do that.
I'm a Democrat. Tell me what the moral high ground is.
The moral high.
Let me get into this here. The term straight and narrow is a religious term used in the three Abrahamic religions. And when you say straight and narrow, and what the Democrats stand for, some of the levels of sin and behavior and the society they want and the sin that they accept and the progressive, extremely progressive views are definitely not straight and narrow. So just had to point that out, because they throw around these religious terms and these Christian, Islamic, Judaism, religious terms, and they don't realize it. The person who practices those faiths needs to abide by those rules and lifestyle. It's not easy, but they throw out those major sins. These aren't small sins. This is where a society has crossed the line. And those sins, the LGBTQ, the gender role switches, are on another level. You know, it's not, I stole from the market. It's comparable to murder. This is over here, and this is way over there.
High ground is nobody's above the law. I respect what the jurors are saying. He don't have to do that.
So we're mad at him because he changed his.
Oh, no. By the way, I'm not mad at him pardoning
But
Hunter
you sound
Biden.
like you're mad.
No.
If I can get in on this, I actually think it went further, and this is one thing we really disagree on. Joe Biden made a point of saying we stand by our institutions
Yes, I
and the
understand all that.
impartiality of the
Yes.
Department of Justice.
Yes.
Democrats ran on that. The same DOJ indicted Hunter Biden. How we shouldn't be saying it's corrupt like Donald Trump does. But then in his statement pardoning Hunter Biden, he says that it was a political pursuit by his own Department of Justice.
Can you explain to me why it is that when Joe Biden does something, everybody clutches their pearls? He's wrong.
Nobody
he lied.
has criticized
No.
Donald Trump more than me or Charlamagne
No,
God.
I'm sorry. Yeah, people have criticized.
This is madness. This is hypocrisy at its finest. They go on ABC, this show, and constantly bash Trump, and literally every day, 24 hours, everything he does, from the way he walks, the way he dresses, every single decision he makes, he's criticized. On the other hand, the majority of the media that runs the media, that is paid to speak on a certain perspective, propaganda, is always on the side of Joe Biden. This guy, he can barely stand straight, he can barely talk. Oh, but he's still intellectually superior. than most candidates, and he's doing great. The economy's great. This, that, that. This is the first time, and most likely the only time, you'll hear somebody say something this dumb. But it's not going to stop. It'll just continue because they're getting paid, and they have a agenda, and it's not going to stop. So you just have to realize they're lying to you, right to your face, just lying to you, because the average American knows what's really going on, and the average American knows what they want, and this isn't it.
Criticized him more. I've criticized him more. We've all criticized him more, but you're missing my question.
Okay.
My question is, what is it that makes people flip out with Joe, but we don't have the same kind of thing?
Well, I don't think
Enough of this person speaking, because I don't even know their background, but I'm going to cover the background of these people in another video, because these days you don't need credibility, especially if you're on a show like this. You can just talk and just read off a teleprompter and read off what that channel's telling you to say, and then all of a sudden you get an image of this person who I can't even take it serious anymore. We gotta move on. Yeah.
Just very quickly, can you
Watch.
just very quickly, can you reframe
Nonsense.
it in this way and think about it maybe in this way?
Nonsense.
The president has the ultimate part in power. Every president has done that.
Good God. I can't even believe this guy. He goes, gets yelled at, gets belittled, gets told to not speak his mind. Then he just sucks up. Look at him. This is disgraceful. It's embarrassing. Can't stand up for yourself, and then he goes and gives the lady a hug. Kisses the ring, as they would say, and then runs back, gets yelled at by another woman who's insane. And she tells him to reframe how he's speaking, to reiterate tone policing at its finest. Tells him you should say it this way. And actually, matter of fact, whatever you said, don't say it at all. Say this. Let's see what happens.
Right?
Yeah.
And so what people are saying is that Joe Biden is now a liar, as opposed to Joe Biden is someone who now knows that the person that is going to be in the White House is on a revenge tour and his son is on an enemies list. And so he is using his rightful power, his rightful political power, to pardon his son. Now, is that a lie, or is that perhaps being pragmatic, having a change of opinion, as opposed to the president-elect who has lied almost 40,000 times during his first term?
Well, I can't say what it is because
So
I'm not in
who
that.
has the moral high ground? Like, what's the faux outrage?
Neither one of them have the moral high ground. That's what I'm trying to get everybody to understand. But when you are a diehard Democrat or a diehard Republican, you refuse to be objective.
40,000. Where did that number come from? 40,000 times. Has lied 40,000 times. How can you even... Oh, man. Like, this guy, his son, was a drug addict. He leaked information on a laptop or sold it, did something illegal. He shouldn't be pardoned. He should be held accountable, no matter who he is. But the way politics works, he has power, he did what he wants. Vice versa. Not right, but that's politics.
Objective about the other party. Like it's like we're watching them do something wrong, but we're making excuses for it.
But we
watch Republicans.
But as you are a student of Dr. King, I'm not only a student of Dr. King, I know his daughter, Bernice, right? So I'm going to get to my question.
Go ahead, go right ahead.
I think the premise is fundamentally flawed. You claim that color blindness was the goal of the civil rights movement, based upon Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech, content of character versus the color of skin. Bernice, Dr. King's daughter, points out that 4 years after giving that speech, actually, Dr. King also said this: a society that has done something special against the Negro for hundreds of years must now do something special for Negroes. He also said in 1968, it was about less than a week before he was assassinated, this country never stops to realize that they owe a people kept in slavery for 244 years. So rather than class, he did write about that earlier on. Right before his death, he made the argument for racial equality and racial reparations. And so your argument for color blindness, I think, is something that the right has co-opted. And so many in the Black community, if I'm being honest with you, because I want to be, believe that you are being used as a pawn by the right, and that you're a charlatan of sorts.
He's not a Republican.
So how do you?
He's never voted for a Republican.
You've said that you're a conservative. No. You pawn by the right, and that you're a charlatan. If I'm being honest with you, because I want to be, believe that you are being used as a pawn by the right, and that you're a charlatan of sorts.
He's not a Republican.
So how do you?
He's never voted for a Republican.
Pawn by the right, and that you're a charlatan. Black community, if I'm being honest with you, because I want to be, believe that you are being used as a pawn by the right, and that you're a charlatan of sorts.
This lady's insane.
So how do you?
Bro.
He's never voted for a Republican.
You've said that you're.
This lady is crazy. I cannot believe this is real. Look what she oh my, dude, I would lose like. Just sitting there. Man, she's doing this, knife handing him, going crazy.